What's good with y'all YouTube, man? We are back again, and here we are today with another video, bro. The NFL season is quickly approaching. As y'all know, y'all been seeing a lot more NFL content from me than y'all saw like in the beginning of this channel. But now with the NFL season starting back, y'all have seen my week 1 predictions. Y'all have seen my playoff tier list and everything like that, or my playoff predictions, excuse me. So now we are doing an NFL tier list because I want to make sure that I talk about all 32 teams, and not all 32 teams obviously got talked about in the playoff prediction tier list because obviously not every single team is going to make the playoffs. So here we have Super Bowl contenders, playoff teams, potential wild cards, missing playoffs, mediocre at best, young but intriguing, and number 1 pick contention. And these will be different because like there are some teams that are mediocre at best that are actually going to be potential wild cards just because of their division. Like for example, the Saints, I might even put them up here even though I think the team is actually mediocre just because of their division. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. You know, it's going to be an interesting tier list. I'm going to be one of those people where it's like at the very, so let's say I thought the Saints were like the number 1 Super Bowl contender, and then let's say I thought the Giants were also in that tier, but right behind the Saints. I'm going to go from best to worst in that tier from left to right. Now, obviously, neither one of those teams is going to be up there, but you see what I'm talking about. So it'll be best. Hopefully, y'all will see it more as the tier list starts off, but it's going to be from left to right, best to worst in each tier list, and I'm probably just going to go ahead and start from, you know, Saints to Jags in this exact order, but we'll see as the video goes on. So starting with the Saints, bro, like I said, I don't think this is a good team. I don't think Derek Carr is good. I don't think Dennis Allen is a great coach. I don't think this is a super good team. Alvin Kamara's old, and well, he's not even that old, but he's getting washed, it seems. Chris Olave is really good, but unfortunately, bro, keeps getting killed because Derek Carr's throwing this man hospital passes, and he just keeps getting rocked. Tyrann Mathieu's all right, but he's getting older. Cam Jordan's old. Mario Davis is old. This isn't a terrible team, but I don't think they are a good team. But I'm going to put them in potential wild cards just because of their division. They could very well win the division. Like the NFC South literally has them and the Falcons and the Buccaneers, all teams that could make the playoffs, but none of them are great teams. And then you have the Panthers, who are probably going to be down here in this number 1 pick contention team just because there's such little talent on that team. For now, I'm going to put the Saints at potential wild cards, but do I think they have a better chance to win that division than the Bucs? Honestly, I think them and the Bucs are going to be on the same tier, so I'm not sure yet. We'll see as we get there. I might think about that, and I might change my mind. But the Dolphins, bro, I'm going to say the Dolphins will be a playoff team, especially with the Bills, with how much worse the Bills got in my estimation. I believe the Bills could genuinely finish 3rd in that division this year. The Dolphins will make the playoffs. Even with the Bills winning the division, they've made the playoffs like multiple times, like even last year. And I'm not expecting a whole bunch for this team because first of all, we know they can't win in cold weather. I think Tua's mid. They have the best receiver in Tyreek Hill, but again, I think Tua's mid. I think Devon Achane is going to get better this season. I think Jalen Waddle, I have mixed feelings about him. Like if you go by Madden, he's like an 88, 90 overall receiver with superstar abilities every single year, but I just don't think he's that right now. But they have a great wide receiver duo and everything like that. They got some good, intriguing pieces on defense. They got Mike McDaniel, who they just extended and everything like that. I do think they will make the playoffs. But like don't expect anything crazy from them, but I would say a playoff berth is something that I'm expecting. The Ravens, to me, y'all already know I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I think the Ravens will win the Super Bowl. I think they will finish with the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC. I don't really think that I don't think I'm going to put a team above them as Super Bowl contenders, and if I did, it would be this team right here, and that's just because they've won it in back-to-back years, so it's like disrespectful to not have them number 1, especially as they got better. So I'm probably going to put the Chiefs in number 1 on this tier list, but even though I do believe the Ravens will win the Super Bowl, I think it's disrespectful to have anyone other than the Chiefs as number 1. The Bengals. Fully healthy Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase contract situation gets figured out. I'm going to say the Bengals are for sure a playoff team, and I do think they're better than the Dolphins. The reason that I have some hesitation is, 1, is Joe Burrow going to be healthy, and 2, their division is crazy, bro. Like, you could, genuinely, in any other division, all 4 of the teams in the AFC North could be playoff teams. Like, the Steelers, I'm not super high on. I do think this will be one of those years where they end up I think this will be the year where that streak of not finishing below 500 for Mike Tomlin ends, because I don't think Russell Wilson is good. Simply put, I don't think Russell Wilson's good. I think the rest of that division is really good now. I don't think Deshaun Watson's anything special with Cleveland or anything, but I do think that they're still better than Pittsburgh. So that's the reason I kind of, hesitated a little bit with the Bengals, is just because their division is so good. They're like 1-3 in the regular season against Lamar, so that's why. But it's just like, I don't know though. Them boys are a really good team. So if you want to put them as Super Bowl contenders, I could see it. I'm not going to put them up there. I don't think there's a whole bunch of truly contending teams. But we've seen this team go to the Super Bowl before. So If you want to put them up there, I'm not mad at it. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way right now. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way right now. I think the Broncos are better than the Giants. I think the Broncos are just slightly better. I think Daniel Jones sucks. They lost Saquon. They lost Xavier McKinney. Their number one is Malik Neighbors, who I think actually has the potential to be really good. The one thing is, though, the defense for New York will be much better. So the Giants might be better than the Broncos just because you got Dexter Lawrence, you got Bobby Okereke, you got Brian Burns, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got some pieces on this New York defense. So I do the New York Giants might actually be a little better than the Broncos will be. They're going to have to deal with the Eagles in that division, who are going to be tough. The Cowboys are always good regular season, but I don't think they're going to be like the 12-5 Cowboys that we've seen for the last 3 years. And then the Commanders are going to suck. So the division's not crazy hard, whereas this division also isn't crazy hard. If you take out the Chiefs, this division might be the worst in football. So I don't know, but I think both these teams are number one pick contention. I don't think there's going to be any fighting here. I'm going to go mediocre at best. Even if J.J. McCarthy was healthy, I would put this team at mediocre at best because I'm not high on J.J. McCarthy. For damn sure with Sam Darnold, I'm putting them at mediocre at best. You could honestly put them at number one pick contention because I do think they will finish last in their division, but I don't think they're going to be quite so bad with Justin Jefferson and with Jordan Addison. Like, if you can throw the ball in Justin Jefferson's range, he's gonna get a good chance of catching it. So that's gonna help this team just immensely. And I think the defense under Brian Flores was better last year, so I do think that defense still has a chance. They did lose Danielle Hunter and everything like that, but I'm gonna go mediocre at best. I don't think they're quite bad enough to be down here at number one pick contention. The Rams, I think I'm going to go potential wild card, and I'm going to put them ahead of the Saints. I think the Rams are a much better team than the Saints, but the unfortunate part is I do think the Rams division is better than the Saints. They have the 49ers to worry about. They have the Cardinals, who I think are going to be a sneakily good team with Kyler Murray healthy. And I do think Jonathan Gannon's actually a good coach, so I do think the Cardinals will be a sneakily good team. The Seahawks, you don't have too much to worry about because I don't believe in Geno Smith, and they don't have Pete Carroll anymore, who wasn't doing anything great over the last few years, but that's still a loss in my opinion. So I'm gonna put the Rams here in potential wild card. Do I think I might put the Rams in playoff teams. Low key. For now, I'm gonna put the Rams in playoff teams. Do I think they'll be better than the Dolphins? Record-wise, they might not be better than the Dolphins, but I think if both teams, like if the Dolphins and the Rams both get into the playoffs, I think the Rams have a better shot than the Dolphins do, so I'm going to say Rams above Dolphins, even though I think the Dolphins will probably have a better regular season record. I'm going to put the Rams above them just because, like, if these are both 6 or 7 seeds, I have more faith in LA than I do in Miami. It's that simple. Tampa Bay is another potential wildcard team, and they did lose Dave Canales, who just revived Baker Mayfield's career. I do think that's a really big loss, but they still have Mike Evans. They did lose Devin White, but they still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. They still have a lot of continuity on this team. We know Mike Evans is going to get you 1,000 yards receiving. Chris Godwin's probably going to be right around there as well. This is tough, bro. I'm going to put the Bucs ahead of the Saints. I don't believe in Derek Carr. Like I said, losing Dave Canales here is big. I don't think these two teams are separated by a huge gap at all. Both teams are going to have good defenses like they have for the last few years. For now, I'm going to put Tampa Bay above New Orleans. For literally probably the first time since when they had Barry Sanders in 91 or something, this is probably the first time that I'm going to put the Lions as a true Super Bowl contender. I think they are a top 3 team in the NFC, and I think all 3 of the top teams in the NFC are Super Bowl contenders. In the AFC, I think it's the 2 top teams are both Super Bowl contenders, so I'm gonna say the Lions are a Super Bowl contender. Now, in this tier list, they're probably going to end up being the last team on Super Bowl contenders. They're probably going to end up being the worst team out of the Super Bowl contenders for me, but they are still Super Bowl contenders. The Bears, potential wild cards, and I'm going to put them above both of these teams. The big question, I'm going to keep saying it for me, is the defensive line. I don't think Montez Sweat is enough to be your own anchor on the defensive line, but they do have Jalen Johnson in the secondary. They do have Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker. They do have a phenomenal offense. They've surrounded Caleb Williams with a whole bunch of pieces. They even have DeAndre Swift now, I'm pretty sure. So I'm gonna put the Bears as potential wild cards, and if you want to put them here and like maybe move a team like the Rams down or something at the end of this tier list, I'm not mad at you, but I'm not picking them to make the playoffs as Caleb Williams' rookie year. But I do think they are a potential wild card team for sure. I think putting them anything lower than this is a little disrespectful. But yeah, and like young but intriguing isn't a bad thing. So I like I know that it's down here below mediocre at best and just above number one pick contention. It's not a bad thing. Like the Cardinals are one of those teams where I might put them. I don't know if I would necessarily call them young because they're really not, but they're intriguing for sure. Like they're definitely intriguing. Like are there any teams that I would even put in that tier of young but intriguing? I kind of just might want to change this title to intriguing. Like just not young but intriguing, but just intriguing, and we might just want to put these teams here, and I kind of want to move this tier up one to here. Does that look dumb? It kind of looks dumb, but I don't really care too much about the looks because there are teams that are definitely like intriguing. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of want to put them here actually. Anyways, let's move on. 49ers, Super Bowl contenders. They have been for the last few years. They will continue to be. Their Super Bowl window is definitely closing. They figured out the Brandon Ayuk thing, which is cool, but you still have to pay Brock Purdy. You still have to pay Brock Purdy next year. So they will have some problems come next offseason. I do think their Super Bowl window is closing, but I think it's absolutely blasphemous for you to say anything other than them being a Super Bowl contender. Eagles, I'm high on them. Some people might not be as high on them. I'm super high on the Eagles. I think they are the best team in the NFC with Saquon Barkley now. I do have questions about Nick Sirianni, and obviously, you know, they have two new coordinators for the second year in a row, so we'll see. They lost Jason Kelce. Obviously, that's a big loss, but I think that Saquon Barkley on this team adds so much to that offense, and I think the Eagles will, but maybe not. They might not start the season off as the best team because they're going to have a lot of new pieces that they're going to have to include. They're going to have to figure things out with. But I think by the end of the regular season, come playoff time, I do think they will be the best team out east. I mean, out in the NFC for sure. Do I think the Raiders are going to be worse than the Broncos? No, I don't. But do I think they're going to be worse than the Giants? No, I don't. But the Raiders are a number one pick contention team. Gardner Minshew's not good. Well, I mean, he's not terrible, but he's not going to be your starter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want him to be your starting quarterback. The defense is all right. They have Max Crosby, and that's really about it. To my knowledge, that off the top of my head, that's really about it. They have Devontae Adams. They have good receivers, and they have Brock Bowers at tight end, which is great. The O-line isn't great. They did lose, like, their best offensive lineman, who I think is on the Giants now. I think it was, like, their left or right tackle. I don't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he was, like, their best offensive lineman, and I'm pretty sure he's on the Giants now. The Raiders are going to suck. I don't think they're going to finish last in that division like the Broncos will. So I maybe should put them at mediocre at best, because the Chargers are going to suck too. So I'm going to put them at mediocre at best because I do think the Chargers and the Broncos will be worse than the Raiders. I don't know if the Chargers are going to be much worse than the Raiders, but I do think they will be worse than the Raiders just because, bro, they have no targets. Like, Justin Herbert's good, don't get me wrong. The defense is all right, do not get me wrong. They don't have targets to throw the ball to. Ladd McConkey will probably end the season as their wide receiver 1. And that's not like, I'm not saying Ladd McConkey sucks, but as your wide receiver 1, gang? A rookie second-round pick is your wide receiver 1, gang? When you don't have another one that's going to be close to him? Like, yeah, Puka Nacua was probably the Rams wide receiver 1 last year, but Cooper Kupp was injured. Cooper Kupp's also old, and Cooper Kupp was still a very viable option. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, bro. When your next best option is what? Josh Palmer or Gerald Everett because Quentin Johnston cannot catch the ball to save his life? Anyways, we're not even on the Chargers yet. I don't know what I'm talking about. For Green Bay, I do think they will be a playoff team, and I think they will be... I have to sneeze. Or not. I hope you said bless you. If you did, thank you. I love you. Green Bay, I do think will be a playoff team. Now, I'm not super high on the Packers. I'm one of those people that think, oh, they have a real chance to win the NFC. I'm not as high on them as that. I'm just not that high on Jordan Love yet. But I do think they'll be a playoff team. I do think they are a team that won't. I don't think they're a team that's going to that's going to be as scary to see come playoff time as like a team like Cincinnati. But they are going to be a playoff team. If I had to guess, do I think Washington's going to be bad enough to be number one pick contention? No, because I think the Giants will be the worst team in that division, but I will say that they will be mediocre at best and they'll be worse than these two teams. I low-key kind of want to put them here just because I think Jaden Daniels could have a really good rookie year, but they just lost Jahan Dotson, who was like their wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, if you want to put Curtis Samuel ahead of him, whatever. I'm pretty sure Curtis Samuel's on the Bills now, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I don't know anything. I don't know. But do I want to put them in intriguing? No. But a team I will put in intriguing is the Cardinals. Bro, Kyler Murray, I think, is one of those guys that's gonna come out and like surprise people and like remind them that he's actually a very solid quarterback. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is gonna be an amazing target for him. I think they have a good coach in Jonathan Gannon. The defense isn't bad. The running game isn't bad. Like the O line kind of sucks, but you know we'll have another season of Paris Johnson over there at offensive tackle. So I think that's a team that's going to be intriguing. Like I think that's going to be a team that's going to like make life difficult on a team like the Rams. That might be a team that gives San Francisco a loss. Like that's going to be a team that might give some of these NFC teams that we're going to think are going to be playoff teams or even really good contenders in the NFC. They're going to be a team that I think is going to give them the loss. You know what I'm saying? Like I do think that's going to be they're going to be one of those teams. I'm not going to put the Steelers at mediocre at best just because Mike Tomlin and that defense are so good, but I am going to put them in nope. I'm going to put them in missing playoffs. I don't think Russell Wilson's good. I think at some point Justin Fields will take over that starting job, but I am going to say that they will miss the playoffs. Yeah, I think they're going to finish last in that division, but they're going to be good enough to where that's not mediocre at best. Like they're probably going to get 7-8 wins, which you could argue is mediocre at best because that's not a great record or anything like that. Like you like 8-8, you know what I'm saying, or 8-9 isn't a great record. But I do think they will be like mediocre at best. I'm talking like 6 wins. Like you know what I'm saying. Number one pick contention. I'm talking like 3 wins. You know what I'm saying. So I think missing playoff teams is going to be one of those teams where it's like you get 8 wins, you get 9 wins, but your division's just that good that you don't make it. You know what I'm saying. Bills. Again, I'm not high on the Bills. I think they got a lot worse. I'm going to put them at the top of potential wild card just because they still have Josh Allen, who's going to still be under his head coach with continuity, and Sean McDermott, even though I'm not super high on Sean McDermott, and I do think he has some pressure as a coach. I think Keon Coleman can have a really good season. I am high on him. I think James Cook can have another really good season. I'm pretty high on him too. Obviously, we know Josh Allen's one of the top 5-6 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, which is why I think it's disrespectful to put them as anything below potential wild card. But I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Now, I will put them at the top of this tier, like I said, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. The Falcons, I think, are a playoff team, but I think they're going to be like the worst. Like, I think they'll win their division, so they're going to end up being like the 4 seed. But I think they're going to be like, you know what I'm saying, one of those teams where it's like, the 5 seed's not too worried. Like, if the 5 seed ends up being Green Bay, they're not going to be too worried to play Atlanta. Now, Atlanta did get better defensively with the pickup of Matthew Judon, with the trade for Matthew Judon. But he's old. He's coming off an injured season, so we can't just say that he's just going to, change this defense. Kirk Cousins is also old and coming off an Achilles injury. Now, it's not like he was the most mobile guy in the world, but an Achilles injury is an Achilles injury. So, like, you know what I'm saying? I do think the Falcons will win their division just because it's a weak division, but I do think they're going to be one of those playoff teams that's not really striking fear into anyone's heart. I'm not with that where people are saying, they're a dark horse to win the NFC. I think both of these teams right here have a better chance of winning the NFC than the Falcons do. Like, I'm talking about like winning the NFC Championship. I'm not talking about being the 1 seed. Being the 1 seed, I could see if you said the Falcons have a better chance just because they're going to get 6 division games that should be not even that easy. No, I'm sorry. I don't see it either way. I don't think the Falcons are as high as I've seen some analysts say they are, some people in general say they are. I'm not that high on them. Sorry. I just don't believe it. Do I think the Seahawks will be in number 1 pick contention? Do I think they'll be that bad? No, but I do think they'll be mediocre at best. I'm going to put them like right here. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be a great team. 3 NFC teams in here is crazy, but there's still a lot of AFC, like AFC. Like, yeah, I don't know why all the AFC teams are at the bottom of this, like at the end of this tier list. But anyways, I'm gonna say the Seahawks will be mediocre at best. I think they might get to 5-6 wins. I don't think they're gonna be terrible, where they're gonna be like a 2-3-4 win team, where they're a number 1 pick contention. But I do think they're gonna be bad, and I don't think they're gonna be quite good enough to just be in this missing playoff teams category, where they get to like 8 wins. I think they're gonna be one of those teams that'll have 5 or 6. I don't think they're gonna be a very good team. I'm gonna put the Patriots here. I'm not high on the Patriots at all. Like, the defense I expect to be okay, because the defense is always okay. Now, they don't have Bill Belichick running that defense anymore, so we'll see how okay that defense will be. Literally, Drake May wasn't even good enough to win the starting job from Jacoby Brissett. I was never high on Drake May. I thought picking him at number 3 was a mistake. I thought if you had Jaden Daniels available there, you should have picked him, but they didn't have him available there, so I was like, maybe trade back. But what do I know? But I just don't think Drake May's that guy. I don't think he's that good. And even I'm assuming he'll take the starting job at some point throughout the season. Even when he does, I don't think they're going to be that good. And I don't think the weapons around him are good at all. So I'm going to say number 1 pick contention. I just think the Patriots are going to have another year where we're going to see Flat Reacts raging a lot when he reacts to the games, because they're not going to be good. I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to be good. The Browns. How many AFC playoff teams do I have right now? So let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have room for 2 more playoff teams, and I'm gonna probably pick the Browns and the Colts out of those other teams that I just named. Huh? Or do I pick the? This is tough. Oh no, I'm gonna probably pick the Jets. I'm gonna probably pick the Browns and the Jets. So I'm gonna say the Browns will be a playoff team. Do I think they'll be better than Miami? Do I think they'll be more dangerous than Miami come playoff time? I don't like Tua, but I don't like Deshaun Watson. I'm gonna say I'm going to put Cleveland right here. I think Cleveland will be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be like maybe the 7th seed in the AFC or something like that. And I don't think they're going to be a team. Defensively, they'll be a team that teams have to worry about 100%, no question about it. I want to see what Nick Chubb looks like when he does come back, which will probably be like week 6 or 5 or something, I think. So I want to see what Nick Chubb's going to look like when he comes back. I don't think Deshaun Watson's good. Now, if Deshaun Watson can have just a mediocre season, I think they'll end up being a little higher than the 7th seed out east. I mean, out in the AFC, I'm thinking NFL. I'm thinking NBA, bro. That's why I keep saying out east and out west. But out in the AFC, but I'm not super high on the Browns. I'm also not super low on the Browns. Like, if you said the Bills would make the playoffs over the Browns, I'm not mad at you. If you said the Colts would make the playoffs over the Browns, I'm not mad at you, but I'm not going to pick it. Texans, I'm going to put them right here. No. Right, thank you. Right here. I think I'm going to give the Bengals more respect just because that's a team we've seen get to the Super Bowl under Joe Burrow. But this team surprised a lot of people last year, including myself. I didn't think they were going to be that good, and I definitely didn't think they were going to beat the Browns in the playoffs, and then they did. And then they gave the Ravens a run for their money in that first half. Now, in the second half, things got ugly, but in the first half, they gave the Ravens a run for their money, and people just seem to be forgetting about that. I'm going to say the Texans will make the playoffs for sure, and I'm going to say the Texans will probably be like one of those teams where they won't be they're going to win their conference. I mean, they're going to win their division for sure. But I think the Bengals will be a little bit of a scarier team just because they have been a team that we have seen get to the Super Bowl with this pretty much core, not the exact same, and they have lost a lot of pieces, but pretty much with the same main guys of, you got Jamar Chase still, you got Trey Hendrickson still, you got Joe Burrow still, you got Zach Taylor still as coach. I do know that they lost Joe Mixon, who literally just went to the Texans, but Zach Moss isn't bad. He was really good when Jonathan Taylor was out last year. I'm not worried about them, and you don't need a great running back anyways. And I don't think that the loss between Joe Mixon and Zach Moss is a huge hit. So I'm going to say that the Texans and the Bengals will be like those 2 top teams out AFC that aren't Super Bowl contenders. Like, those are those 2 teams that'll be in the playoffs where they're going to give Super Bowl contenders a run for their money, but I'm not ready to put them right in Super Bowl contenders. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to say. All right, not too much to talk about there. Cowboys. Do I think I'm going to pick them as a playoff team? I don't really give a damn what their regular season record is. I do think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't care if they go 12-5, if they go 13-4. I'm not respecting them. I'm sorry. I think they got significantly worse this offseason. I think last year was the most talented team they've had in a long time, and they still lost in the first round at home to Green Bay. I'm not giving them the respect. I think there's a lot of issues in that locker room right now just because of Jerry Jones and the paying situation of certain guys. Maybe not issues in the locker room, but just issues in between players and the front office staff. I do think there was a lot of issues there, and I just don't. Even if there wasn't, I wouldn't be high on the Cowboys, but I'm for sure not high on them. I think they got worse. I think there's issues within the organization. I don't think Mike McCarthy's a good coach. I don't think Dak Prescott's as a quarterback that's going to put fear into anyone's heart come playoff time. They're going to be in the bottom of I think they will be the 7th seed. Genuinely, I think they will be like the 6th or 7th seed in the NFC. I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Broncos, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the Raiders. I'm going to put them right behind the Raiders. I think they'll be better than Washington, but I don't think the Chargers are going to be better than the Raiders. I think the Raiders have better skill positions. Obviously, the Chargers have the better quarterback, and they have the better O-line, but I do think that the Raiders have the better skill positions, and the defenses are pretty similar. Mac Crosby is obviously the best player out of either defense, but then you got Derwin James over here, you got Joey Bosa over here, you got Khalil Mack over here, so they got guys on this defense for sure. And John Harbaugh and Antonio Pierce are both first-year, full season head coaches. I know Antonio Pierce showed flashes last year, and I think John Harbaugh can be a good coach. I think he was a good coach when he took Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl in 2012. But this is going to be a team where they're going to run the ball 100 times a game. They might go out there and put 6 offensive linemen on the field multiple times a game. It's going to be that type of team. And I just don't think that's good enough to win games at this level. So I'm not going to put them here. I do think the Jets will be a playoff team, though. And I had them winning the AFC East, and I'm going to stick with that because I picked it, but they're not, I don't think they're going to be a great team. I think they're going to be a team that's right here in playoff teams. So how many playoff teams do we have right now? So we have, in the NFC, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. which is not a problem because these are all AFC teams, so that's perfect. And in the AFC, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can fit one more team in there. Wait, can I? Am I stupid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have all 7 of my. I forgot the Brown. I don't know what my brain doesn't work. So I have all 7 of my playoff teams for each conference. So these are the playoff teams that I think are going to be in the playoffs. I think the Jets got better this offseason. I do think Olu Fashanu from Penn State's a big help to that O-line. I think Mike Williams is a big help. I think if that Hassan Reddick thing can get figured out, he's a big help to the defense. That pass rush that was already elite, that defensive line that was already elite, getting Hassan Reddick as outside linebacker or end, whatever they play him at, is going to be a big help. I think Garrett Wilson's a dog. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna. I think Garrett Wilson's gonna be one of those guys where it's like he can be a safety blanket for Aaron Rodgers. Like they're gonna develop a chemistry. Now, come playoff time, will they do anything? They might make it to the AFC Championship, which if you're a Jets fan, you're ecstatic about that. But I don't think they're gonna be like they're not a true playoff. They're not a true Super Bowl contender. Like you could maybe put them. I'm gonna put them ahead of LA, and I might even put them ahead of Green Bay. I'm not going to put them ahead of Green Bay, but I'm going to put them I'm going to say it's going to be like this. Like, I think these will be the 3 best playoff teams out in the AFC that aren't like true Super Bowl contenders to me. And then this is going to be the one team that's not a true Super Bowl contender in the NFC that can make noise. You know what I'm saying? Do I think this team's going to make noise? Nah. Do I think this team, like, not noise in the fact of, like, oh, they make it to the NFC Championship and almost win, like Green Bay almost beat San Fran in the divisional round last year. I don't think that's going to happen again. But these are teams, like these top 4 playoff teams could make a lot of noise. I could see the Rams going up and upsetting a team in the first round in the wild card. And then these teams, I think they're going to make the playoff, but I think they're not getting past the wild card round. The Falcons could, depending on the matchup, but I don't think they will. Yeah, do I think the Panthers will be the worst team in the league? Yeah, I do. I'm not super low on Bryce Young. I haven't given up on him like a lot of people have. I think Dave Canales is going to help that offense look a lot better. But the loss of Brian Burns is huge. That defense doesn't have a lot of players around it. They got J.C. Horn. They got Frankie Louvu. They don't have a ton of pieces. Brian Burns was their best defensive player, and they just lost him. They have Jeremy Chin. So they have some players, but they don't have like super talented players. Like this isn't a team that I think is going to be much improved from last year. Now, could they go up from, what did they win, 1 or 2 games last year? I think they won 1 game. Could they go up from like 1 or 2 wins to like 4? For sure, I think they could, but that's still going to be low enough for me to have them at number 1 pick contention. I do think they will probably end up being the worst team in the league. I think the Titans are intriguing, and let me tell you why. I think the Colts are better than these 2 teams. I'm going to put the Colts in potential wild card. I think the Colts will be better than these 2 teams. Let me start off with the Titans. The Titans are doing something that's really questionable to me, but I'm not sure. Like, maybe they're seeing something that I'm not in Will Levis, because going out there and getting guys like Calvin Ridley, going and getting guys like L'Jarius Sneed, they are getting guys that are win-now type players. They are getting guys that are going to contribute to your team right now. And that tells me that they really believe that Will Levis can do something with this offense. Like, that tells me that they really believe Will Levis can be a guy that is actually a franchise quarterback for them, or at least they're giving him the opportunity to be one. Losing Derrick Henry, obviously big, right? Obviously, you're losing the best running back in their franchise history, one of the only 2,000-yard rushers in their franchise history. I personally believe Derrick Henry was the best all-time running back. CJ 2K is second, and then is CJ 2K second, or is it Eddie George? Eddie George is probably second. Anyways, losing the best running back in their franchise history, in my estimation, is huge, obviously, but he's getting older, and I think Tyjae Spears is a guy that could, you know what I'm saying, get them some they have another back, too, but Tyjae Spears is the one that's coming off the top of my head right now. Pause. That's coming to mind. I think the Titans are a super intriguing team. I think they're a team that has pieces. And Jeffrey Simmons, they lost Kevin Byard last season to a trade to the Eagles. I know that and everything like that. I don't know how the Eagles pulled that trade off, but anyways, I know all of that, and I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to be a team that's quite good enough to be a potential wildcard team, because I do think these 2 teams in the division, Houston and Indianapolis, are going to be better than them. I think Indianapolis is a for sure potential wildcard team. I think Anthony Richardson has a lot of potential. I think Jonathan Taylor's really good. The O-line is still pretty good. The defense is still not bad. I think their weapons offensively got better, like with receivers. I don't remember who their tight end is, but their receivers definitely got better. So I'm putting them a potential wild card. I would not be surprised if they take out a team in the AFC. Like if they make it over a team like Cleveland. Same with the Bills. If they make it over a team like Cleveland or Miami, I'm not surprised by it at all. I'm not picking it to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. And then the Jaguars, I low-key want to put them in intriguing too, because I'm not sure what to expect from the Jaguars. I think their defense is going to suck. But what is Trevor Lawrence? I don't think any of us know yet. And that's the thing. That's the worries. I just don't think any of us know well enough what Trevor Lawrence actually is. And yeah, that's really what it is. It's like they're intriguing because if Trevor Lawrence could have a really good season, they could very well be a playoff team. But if Trevor Lawrence, has a season similar to what he had in the second half of last year, they're not going to be a playoff team, and they might even finish last in the division or third. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the Jags are the best team out of these. Why won't it? I think the Jags are the best team out of these. I think the Cardinals will end up being the second best team out of these. And do I? I'm going to put the Cardinals last here. But like in this order, I think these are the teams. This is my NFL tier list for 2024. Let me know in the comments, bro, because there's a lot of nuance here. Like there's a lot of teams where I think you could flip-flop around. So let me know what y'all think. Let me know if I said anything that was completely blasphemous. Let me know if I forgot about some things that would have changed some things on this tier list. But yeah, bro, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for everything, man. And stay blessed, stay praying, keep God first, all right? And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. Y'all are about to be getting a lot more content and everything like that, so hopefully y'all enjoy it. Hopefully y'all keep giving me feedback, and hopefully y'all keep supporting. Every one of y'all matters. Every view, every subscriber, every like, every comment matters. I love y'all. Thank you for the support, man.